Alright, what up guys? So, ever since the evade build got nerfed, I am working on making a crushing hands build. Obviously, it looks fairly similar to other people's builds, but this is the one I'm going with. So, here we are to make a build video about it, but I'm going to stop rambling here and just kind of get straight into it. Alright, in all of my videos, I forget to show the Spirit Hall. So, we're doing Jaguar, Gorilla. The 5 stacks of Resolve making you unstoppable is nice. You just don't really get CC'd ever. And you also get damage from unrestrained power this way. And then Jaguar, because this is bugged, it double dips and deals double damage. So that's what everybody's using. And let's get straight into the gear here. We do use the Shroud of False Death, but in the build planner, there'll be a version of the build that uses a normal chest armor. You just won't do as much damage. You're not going to be too far off, though, because you can use Binding lol. Whatever it's called, and do 20% increased damage. So it's not like you're doing significantly less, but you're doing less. Anyway, so on the helmet, I've Dexterity, Max Life, Max Resource. These are all three going to be the best. If I have a piece of gear that's not going to be best in slot, I'll let you know and then tell you what is best in slot. We definitely Dex, Max Life, Max Resource, Barrier Gen, and Resilient. I have Duelist on here to get 5 stacks of Ferocity. That gives us some increased attack speed and all that. All the points into Resilient, if you can get them there. I'm getting really unlucky and can't even get at least 2 points in it. Second best would be Max Life. So, but yeah, we want most of our master working into Resilient. And then the Shroud of False Death, you want the GA and all of the master works into Max Life, because that's going to give you the most damage because of the Viscous Shield bug. Alright, gloves. So the gloves are actually kind of variable. I have nowhere near good gloves for this. I've been looking on Diablo trade for some gloves, but I haven't come across any that I want to spend that kind of gold on yet. A combination, or you definitely want Greater Affix Max Life. That is the best that you could possibly get on here. And then attack speed, resource cost reduction, or crushing hand. Honestly, you could just have any combination of those three. But definitely, for sure, GA Max Life. I have Lucky Hit, chance to freeze on here just to CC like small mobs. And also when you fear enemies with Scourge, when they get frozen, it just kind of keeps them from running away. And then the basic damage, it doesn't really matter. It can be basic, it can be overpower. It doesn't really matter because it's flat damage and it doesn't do much. Yeah, like anything that's just like additive damage doesn't really matter. It does, but it doesn't. Like obviously a little bit additive damage is better than not having it, but it doesn't do enough to be significant to matter. Pants wise, same pants that everybody uses. Max life, armor, and plus basic skills. With all of you want everything to go into the max resolve stacks. So you have max resolve and chance to mobilize. Same thing with the chance to mobilize. It's kind of just there as a leftover from the last build, but also, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much. You could put barrier gen on there, but we have plenty of barrier gen, so I just put that on there. Everything in the resolve stacks. Resolve stacks give your crushing hand more damage, and also we'll do the thing with interdiction where it gives you more block chance, which then also gives you more damage from redirected force, which is on the ring. On the boots, dexterity, max life, armor. I have another pair of boots that actually is GA dex, GA max life, but I just haven't messed with it yet. I actually want to look at it while I'm thinking about it. Yeah, right here. I rolled kind of on the bottom two, but anyway. Oh, on the pants too. You don't have to run armor, but then your armor is not going to be capped, which doesn't necessarily matter. Like, not my resistances aren't capped, and it's never a problem. It doesn't really matter with this build. But I at least want to be able to take physical hits. So I like my armor up there. But dexterity, max life, armor, barrier gen, movement speed, and then we have apprehension on here to slow, or when feared enemies take 37% increased damage from you. And then, of course, the one, the only, Rod of Kepeleke. Kepeleke? I don't know. You want GA max resource, 100%, because of what it does at the bottom, with it also being 3%. And then chance for core skills to hit twice. Those are the only two that really matter to be GA. I know I have 4 GA, but like those are the only two that actually matter. And then you want all of the master working on maximum resource. The RNG gods don't love me enough for that though. And then we have redirected force on here, where you deal critical strike damage equal to whatever percentage of your blocking chance. That is bugged with interdiction, because interdiction will take you above 100%. So you'll get tons of extra multiplicative damage from that. Midnight Sun, some people have found builds where they don't need to use this and they can put another offensive aspect on. It works a lot better with Quill Volley, because Quill Volley sends out multiple things that can get lucky hit chances, whereas Crushing Fists only does 2. So it doesn't really work out as well. If you can figure out how to make it work, make it work. The only GA that matters here is dexterity, and then you want as close to 50% as possible, because that's how you constantly keep your resource maxed out. I just realized I did not go over the actual stuff on this ring because my brain's just kind of max life, attack speed, resource cost reduction. Resource cost reduction gives you increased damage with Kepaleke. So you just run resource cost reduction wherever you can get it. And the Mystic Circle potency, I was just messing around with Mystic Circles, trying to make it work with Crushing Hands, but I haven't figured it out yet. I'll let you know when that happens. But for now, we just, you can just run any flat damage on there, like with the gloves, pretty much. And then we have Banished Lord's Talisman, GA max life, GA core skills would be nice, and or on attack speed, that's nice. Overpower damage doesn't matter that much. And then having an affix with the, like, I have 60% on there, but you want as close to 60% as possible. Oh, and we run Moonrise on the gloves. I also realized I never said that. I get, like, way too ahead of myself. But Moonrise, for that 80% increased damage and attack speed, it is unrivaled in this build, in my opinion. I've had somebody tell me to get rid of it and put in the thing with Plains Power, but I absolutely refuse right now. That's why I really wish I could replace the ring, so I could just run it all. But anyway. Now we're going to move on to the skill tree. It makes it a little hard because everything's got +1 passive because of the Shroud of False Death. But anyway, basic skill, you just need to get down here as many points as you can in a Crushing Hand, up to Enhanced Crushing Hand, and then of course over to Rampant, which this is why, unlike Quill Volley, having the stacks of Resolve is a little bit more important. You get extra damage per stack of Resolve you have. So that bottom number there where it says Resolve up to, the up to is increased per stack of Resolve that you have. So it matters a little bit more. You still want Resilient on the helmet though, because like that's just multiplicative health. So, but anyway, 1 point in Vigorous, and then of course a period of Balanced Exertion. I think it's only 1 point. Nah, put 2 in there. That's right. It's just to increase our Vigor generation. I'm glad I realized that, because now I can put that somewhere else if I need to. Anyway. And then you want up in a Balanced Exertion. The one that gives you, costs more vigor, but it's more damage. Alright. This is not insignificant, but it's insignificant because there's only 1 point into it, but technically you deal more damage. That's why Shroud of False Death is really good, because it's like this. Oh, you get 2% more damage here, you get more damage everywhere. We have 1 point into Soar, and then up to Replenishing Sword, just to make enemies vulnerable. And we'd use Prodigy. I think it's called Prodigy's Tempo. It just constantly gets reset, and we have that cloud around us, and we everything's vulnerable all the time. 1 point and a Focal Point to get up to Apex to deal increased damage to vulnerable enemies. We used to have points into Diminishment, but we took them out. 1 in a Mirage, get it to Unrestrained Power. This is why being unstoppable all the time is really nice. It's 16% increased damage just constantly, because we always have more than 5 stacks of Resolve. Ravager down into Measured Ravager. This is important for the Vigor generation. The build does not function without this. I've had somebody ask me if they could take it out, and the answer is no. Also, it makes it where when you're doing Crushing Hands, you just dash around to everything, and it lets you like speed farm like Infernal Hordes and stuff like really quickly. I mean, not quickly, because everybody takes 10 minutes on a 10-rounder, but you get more. I can't remember what they're called. We're just going to call them Cinders because they look like cinders. Maybe they are cinders. I can't remember. 1 point into Endurance to come up here to Perseverance to get some damage reduction for every stack of Resolve we have. I only have 2 points into Armored Hide. Most people recommend putting 5 points into it, but I wanted to put my points elsewhere, and the difference between 0.3 and 0.6, it will go up, what, another 0.9 seconds? It's not really a huge deal. You're resetting it constantly and just spam the hell out of it. It's fine. And 1 into counterattack, take it down to reinforced counterattack. We get that extra damage for each enemy that's like really close upon us. Scourge. Scourge is super important. You come down in here, casting Scourge grants 6% of your maximum vigor over 6 seconds. That just helps guarantee that we keep our vigor max. We should without it, but I prefer that. If you don't want to, you could go here and get some more healing. I never have an issue of being max health though, personally. So I go here just to guarantee I'm doing max damage all the time. And then as many points in resilience you get increased max life, which does the bug thing with Viscous Shield. 1 point in a dominant. You can take this point out if you want to, but we are knocking down our enemies all the time, so you're just doing increased damage to knock down enemies. And then as many points into potent and furnace as you can get, because their skill is a Jaguar skill, and it just adds damage. This line here, the stuff doesn't matter, even though you get 1 for free, which is nice with this. Because sometimes you get a free cast. That actually matters. This right here, super important. Your maximum vigor is increased by 40 by ultimate skill equip. Absolutely important. That is 120 multiplicative damage that you get because of Kepaleke. You get 3% for each point of vigor you spend casting it when you're at max vigor. So, you know. Resolution matters. Casting ultimate skill grants you damage against elites, which matters. And then any enemies you kill while an ultimate skill is active grants a stack of supremacy, and you stack that supremacy up to just kill stuff. We have 5 points into the hunter to get its cooldown as low as possible, so we can constantly have this stuff up. We can constantly pretty much keep our ferocity up for attack speed, and then prodigy's tempo. Because of Kepaleke making it a basic skill, you get both of these effects. I'll just let you read it instead of trying to read that. And then over to the Paragon lastly. We have Colossal in the starter board. Dealing 2% damage for each stack of Resolve is really nice. And then you also get the flat damage of Gorilla skills that increase damage to close enemies. Top notch. And then we have Turf, which is controversial for me. In my brain. Sorry, it's not controversial. I mean, I don't see anybody else running it, but I see people running Outmatch, which it's nice and all. It gives you 15 times damage to bosses and like the trash mobs, but it doesn't do anything against the elites, which is like where the biggest problem is when I'm running pits, trying to get to the boss, right? You get 12.2% increased damage to all close enemies, including those elites. So this is what I prefer to run, because yeah, you lose 2.8% increased damage to the boss and 2.8% decreased damage to the trash mobs, but it gives you another 12.2 that you didn't have to elites. And I think that's more important, personally. And you also get damage reduction against close enemies, since, like, our stats are kind of eh. And then it's flat damage, but the dealing increased damage to close enemies is not bad either. We come over here. This is on Convergence. I know that the other popular Gorilla build used Pit Fighter or Infighter, whatever it is. I prefer not to do that because that's just like way too much of a gamble. We're just gonna come here and grab this to get a bunch of extra damage. When I get more points, we're gonna come over here to get this resistance to elements, and I think I might go this way, even though we don't do non-physical damage, because we can get like 7.5% attack speed right here. But I digress. Come over here, we have Headhunter. Headhunter, all the dexterity nodes, we grab them because that goes into the thing that double dips with the Jaguar skill, and then also just adds damage, period. And this is the best board I've found for that, because we're trying to grab this stuff over here anyway, right? And this stuff up here anyway. So like going in all these places is good. Whereas like here, we're just like, see, this is in the middle. This is an option, but eh. And then here, no, because this is the perfect layout. I haven't showed you guys that yet. And this isn't a bad option necessarily, but this is better. So, I digress though. This is the one that's bugged. Instead of doing 1%, doing a maximum of 33% when you have a max barrier, you're doing 1% per 12 HP you have when you have a max barrier, and it's super bugged, and that's why we stack max life. But anyway, coming up here, make sure you grab this max life over here. Another option is to come here and grab this stuff. I think that's my next step after grabbing this and possibly this, and then I should be out of points because I'd be almost level 300 at that point. Because that's 7, 14, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 24 points. So I have a couple, but anyway. Yep. And then we're gonna come grab this barrier gen. Okay, because we're using crushing hand and we get barrier, it's not super important that our barrier gen be as high as like quilt volley. Which reminds me, I need to show you guys what we have slotted in the rune working. Hopefully I don't forget to do that. And we come here, and then we have Hubris. So Hubris is nothing on it matters. Doing increased damage to vulnerable targets, that's not completely useless because it's just increased damage to your targets because they're always vulnerable. The additional bonus, that doesn't matter because with thorns, we don't care. But this has the highest bonus to all magic nodes within range. So if you were to replace this with Menagerous, I think you're down like 9 resource points, which is 27, or not 9, but 6. Something like that. So this just does more damage. It's only like 1, 2, 3% more, but like might as well just do this. And it supplies itself here, 29 strength. So like none of this other stuff matters. Like yeah, I have this strength and this strength, but technically you don't need it. And then we come up here and just like dip potato chip this way. Grab all this attack speed. Grab this resistance. Come up here, grab this. This is more max resource and resource gen. Grabbing the node, the thing that's just like, I don't think they thought this through, because when you cast 3 skills in a row, you'll just always get 30% increased damage, because once you choose a Spirit Hall, all your skills are one of these skills. So, whatever. This resistance here, and then we come up here, and the last board is Revealing, and this is where up to 30% chance to knock down vulnerable enemies. That's why I said that one thing on the skill tree matters, that does damage to knockdown enemies, and you deal increased damage to crowd controlled enemies, which is really nice once the boss gets knocked, and it helps because you're crowd controlling stuff all the time. And this in here we have Spirit. Make sure we grab this attack speed stuff, and that's all we need off of this board for the most part. This stuff would be nice, but we're not going to worry about that. Okay then. Oh man, and then as I said, I didn't forget. Look, of course, we're running pot Q to give ourselves Urban Bulwark for barrier. On top of that, mixed with Crushing Hand giving us barrier is why we don't need as much barrier gen as Quilt Volley, because instead of needing like 70 or 80% barrier gen, you can get away with like 50 to 60%. And then we have Exile. Invoke a skill from another class, which would be the Urban Bulwark, and you'll get 20% maximum life for 6 seconds. Absolutely necessary to have the part versus maximum life for 6 seconds. But I hope you guys appreciate the video. I know it's very similar to other Crushing Hand builds. Sue me, there's only so many ways to make builds anymore, especially since we can only have 5 Paragon boards. But anyway, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and all that generic YouTube stuff, and I will catch you guys, hopefully, in the next one.